So owning your authority doesn't mean that I don't feel sad or upset. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe it shook some of my stability. It's okay. Now, what is it that I can control? I may be weak at this moment, but that weakness doesn't mean I'm defeated. And who do you have to rely on? Yourself.
Welcome to today's episode of Business Growth Lab. I'm your host, Samantha Riley, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but it is something that really will affect you at some point as a high performer, as a leader in your business, and that is grief. And I've brought Rosalind Price on to talk about that today. She's the grief gangstress. I got it out. I could not say that in the green room. Rosalind, it's so fabulous to have you on the show.
Oh, Samantha, the honor is all mine. And you did it beautifully. It just rolled off your tongue as if
I
it's your
know.
title. So this was amazing.
Considering
Quality
how this started, like, I'm so glad that that came out like that. I'm really interested in this topic. I heard you pitched at like it wasn't a pitch competition, but it was an event that I was on a panel for, and you pitched, and I was like, this is a topic I never would have thought about. But in your 60 seconds, your 90 seconds that you spoke, I was like, I have to have Rosalind on the show. It's every single one of us goes through grief. And I want you to start by unpacking, what does grief mean to you? Is it just and I don't mean just at all. Is it from losing a parent or losing a loved one, or does it stretch across a whole different set of circumstances and events?
Beautiful question. For me, grief is not just an emotion, it's a journey, it's a process. Grief is a natural companion that signifies to me and others that something significant has shifted in my life. And that could be the death of a loved one, it could be a divorce, loss of a partner, loss of a pet, loss of a job, a home, friendship, something significant or someone significant to you that has caused a major shift in your day-to-day life. And that's
Hmm.
that's what it is to me. And it's a natural companion. It's like I said, it's not just an emotion. Grief is this embodiment, this energy that sits alongside you, that signifies to you that something happens, and then it opens up what I like to call this space for you to sit with it in awareness so that you can make some meaning of what actually happened, maybe not immediately, but then determine then what it is that I need to help me move through this process and move forward while allowing myself to stay grounded
Mm,
in the
mm.
process.
Do these events live in silos, or do they layer on top of each other and get bigger? And the reason I'm asking is because there are so many of us in business that are at an age where we could have, there's going to be some sort of relationship loss at some point, I would have thought, for most people. Then there's divorce, losing a parent, or, maybe a grandparent, but certainly at this age, a lot of people are losing parents. There could have been tragic events or like really hard events that happen in business. Like, there's all of these things. Do they have a cumulative effect?
Oh, they certainly can, and there's a two-part to that, right? So if you're certainly experiencing a shift that is one shift, then there's another shift and another shift, or perhaps those shifts have happened in a short amount of time, or either back to back. That's what we call the cumulative loss and transition. But the part about the silo is that no matter if it was cumulative or just one significant shift at one particular time or over a span of time, it doesn't operate in a silo because when we talk about being ourselves, we can't just put grief to the side. We can't just put
Mhm.
those things to the side, right, Samantha? Even if we try to, it's going to live with us and be with us, especially if we're trying to avoid it or power through it, because grief's job and role is to ensure that we get the nurture and support that we need. That's
Hmm.
its major role. So it can live in a silo if we attempt to put it over here, but it's not going away.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the cumulative loss, of course, If it's compounding, and it's just stacking up, it definitely is not going to go away. At some point, it's going to bang down that door and say, "You gotta pay attention to this, or something explosive is going to happen." Or implosive.
Yeah. And yes, exactly. Now, we're specifically talking to business owners today, high performers, leaders. How do you see this showing up in their leadership as they're running a business?
Oh, excellent question. Burnout?
Mm,
Burnout is the number one thing that I see. Burnout, the stress, also feeling like they are in a silo because a lot of times high performers are overlooked, or sometimes they overlook their needs. And so there's this thing that they're powering through so they can feel alone, they can feel neglected, and also not having the words to speak up for that because they're used to being this soldier or this high performer, excellent at achieving everything no matter what. But when something like this happens, that they've never experienced, or maybe never experienced it in a certain way, it can feel like not just burnout, but like I said, a loneliness. It can also
mm,
feel like uncertainty. So you can feel off balanced. Like there's something there that's disjointed, that you're not really living as holistic as you know you can be.
mm. I would think that that would show up, and correct me if I'm wrong, in things like being disjointed like that, inability to make decisions quickly, holding back from big projects that never used to, you never used to blink an eye at before, like really second guessing yourself. Is this the kind of thing that can happen?
It can be that, or it can be the opposite, that you spend so much focus on that, that you also forget your personal life. So you're not
Mhm.
eating, or either you're gaining weight, or you're not spending time with your family, or you're feeling stretched. It can be all of those things, or you can be stuck in analysis paralysis where maybe it's not difficult to make the decision. You know what you need to do, but you're just kind of swirling because you can't focus. Or you
Yeah.
might also have a little confidence shake or break because something's off balance in your life. So you don't feel very secure, and you might think it's the work, but really it's grief saying, "We need to sit you down here. Need to sit you down, give some attention to this so that we can establish some clarity that you need in this moment."
Loving this so far. What are some of the signs as a leader that we would pick up on that would have us know, okay, this is what's going on, and we need to sort of sit down and take that break. And what is that, what is that, I guess, how does that show up at the beginning?
Sometimes it can be withdrawal. Sometimes it can be denial. I'll tell you an experience years ago. I had a staff member that I was managing, and she was going through her second bout of breast cancer. And she was
Mm,
journeying through, and she wanted to just feel normal, but she really needed to take some time away, and she didn't wanna be treated differently. She wanted to have her same assignments and power through, but the reality is that with the medication and the treatments, she was losing some of her memory, so she wasn't able to be that high performer that she needed to be, or that she wanted to be. And so my job and my role really was to say to her, "High performance in this moment for you is going to look a little different. And that's okay, because we're going to support you through this." So sometimes it can look like that overindulgence, or that need to stay normal to avoid, or
mm,
it can be that withdrawal where you are checking out and maybe you're not performing like you used to. And then you're fearful of being exposed because you don't want to be judged, or you certainly don't want that to impact your performance. And that's where it becomes our job, if those around us aren't able to identify that, to help bring them to that clarity and give them the support that they need.
mm. Because what you just said there is what I was thinking. So many high performers are good at it's like just powering through, and other people don't necessarily even pick up what's going on. As a leader, we might feel it. You were talking about, inability to make decisions quickly or decide on a big project. So internally, we might know, oh, we're feeling shaky, or we're not confident, or we're not trusting ourselves. But people on the outside might not even pick that up, because a high performer is just like, hey, I'm here and I'm doing it.
Oh, you're talking to one of those recovering high performers. Oh,
Oh, you're recovering?
Samantha,
That's so
I'm
cool.
recovering. I'm recovering, right? I mean, so I did it so well that people didn't even think they needed to ask me if I needed
Yeah.
support because Rosalind's got it. And it wasn't until Samantha, you know what I allowed myself to do? Break down in a meeting.
Oh.
I was going through another cumulative loss where just family members were dying back to back. And one of my uncles died, and I was in a meeting. And Samantha, I just broke down crying over telling a story about him teaching me how to tie my shoes when I was 4 years old. And
Oh,
this time, right. And I didn't suck
girl,
it
that
up.
gets
Any
me.
other time, it hits you, right? Any other time, Samantha, I would have been like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Let's just power through, or let's just get through it. Or I would have just shared it with one person. But I wanted the team to see that. I wanted them to see that strength can look like breaking down,
Mm,
that it doesn't have to always look like powering through. I also wanted to give them a window into what managing grief looks like and how they can give space to support me and others or to help us try to figure it out or give space as we're trying to figure it out. And the team showed up and I wasn't surprised. You know what they said? They said, let her cry.
of course,
Sh-
because they're human, right? But why do we forget that other people are actually okay with that? Like, the stories we tell ourselves.
Oh, we do, right? You want to know one other reason why? Now, one of the team members tried to rush it through. She tried, Rosalind, okay, it's okay. We'll end the meeting. And somebody said, no, stop, let her cry. Because we also have a discomfort with grief.
Yeah.
And then sometimes our own personal discomfort will project onto others, not because we're ill-intended or ill-intentioned, but because that discomfort we might be feeling like that other person is uncomfortable. So we want to do whatever we can to nurture. But it goes back to Samantha that we're getting better, a grief avoidance society which makes us not as grief intelligent. So we kind of don't know what to do in that moment.
Mm-mm.
So it can have all different kinds of reactions. I was just fortunate in that situation that a team member knew what to do in that moment, knew what I needed. Let her cry. She's strong for
Yeah.
everything else. Let her cry.
Yeah. That's amazing. If we're talking grief intelligence, it's I would have to put up my hand and say that I'm someone that doesn't have it. Like I don't know. I never know what to say. I never know what to do. I'm so awkward around so many of those conversations, and I think it's because I've everyone is different. And what is good for one
Yeah.
is not good for another. You know, you mentioned the staff member that had breast cancer and she just wanted to be normal, but there would be other people that it's the opposite. It's like I don't want to be. I need to be home and I need to just be like looking after myself in whatever way that meant for her. So I find it really difficult to navigate that. Like I don't know what to say.
Listen, you know what? You're not the only one. And let me tell you, I'm a grief coach. And sometimes I will be stumped. What we learn and what we teach in my framework, I tell people these are two simple but very significant things you can say is that I'm here and please let me know what it is that you need from me, what I can do for you. Not let me know if you need anything. Let me
Ah,
know
big
how
difference.
best I can support you, right? Or the other thing could be, and if you don't know, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
just here. I'm here in silence. I'm here in presence. I'm just here. And when I can't be here, please let me know how best I can support you or what I can send in the proxy if I can. Those
Mm,
simple things are very significant because typically, when we're going through our grief journey, you can have so many people around you, but you still feel alone because it's your experience. Nobody
yeah.
else can experience that for you. They might be in it with you, but they can't experience it. So you do feel alone. But just knowing that somebody's on what I like to call Samantha the perimeter, that somebody's on the perimeter just watching guard, being like those bumper rails for you, a lot of times it means more than most people know. And that's just something simple. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I love that.
as just scratching the surface because that intelligence also has to start within because I'm going to support you based off of how I deal with grief,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to support if I avoid grief, I'm not going to I'm going to avoid you in your grieving journey or I'm going to try to use words that try to push you forward and push you past it.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm one that I don't like to use the word Samantha befriends grief, but if I'm one that is well acquainted with grief, like I like to tell people, I don't run from grief. I allow grief. I invite grief in. When grief knocks on the door, come on in, grief. I know you're here. Sit right beside me. I know some of this process may not be easy, but I know you're not here to harm me. You're here for the opposite. And then that's typically how I would support someone. So the intelligence begins within, but guess what? It's a process. There's no right or wrong. There's no right
Mm.
or wrong about it. What I also teach people is that let the person who is grieving to be the guide. Let them lead you. And that could just be via watching them, really listening to them, or just giving them space to come to their own conclusion, and they'll eventually share it with you, or they'll eventually
Mm.
express it in some kind of way. And that's where the intelligence begins. It doesn't mean having all the answers or having the right thing to
Mm.
say all the time.
I love that. I love that. So, when you say owning your authority when it comes to grief, loss, and transitions, what do you mean by that?
Life happens, right, Samantha?
Oh my
Every day
goodness, doesn't
something
it just?
happens. Doesn't it just?
Yeah.
As they say, life be life in, but life just happens. And we may not be able to control that. But what I can control is I can control how I choose to react, how I choose to navigate, perhaps through that. Let's say, for instance, the loss of a job. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe it shook some of my stability. Perhaps I was already paycheck to paycheck, and now I don't know what to do. But owning my authority doesn't necessarily mean that I don't feel like I was a victim of something, that I don't feel sad or upset. But it does mean that I take this and I say, okay, now what is it that I can control? What is it that I can do? So I can go out and seek the support that I need. I can start creating a blueprint for what I want my life to look like going forward. I may not get that immediately, but I have a plan
Mm.
of some action of something, right, that I can focus on and work towards. So owning your
Mhm.
authority doesn't mean that it also means that when this happens, doesn't mean that you were being punished or you did something wrong, right? Because there are some people that's like,
Yeah.
why did this happen to me? And it's okay for you to
Yes.
question. I say question. Question whatever you believe in, whoever you believe in. And if you don't, question it. Because when you question and you sit still, there comes clarity. So owning your authority and your identity means that whatever happens doesn't mean that I did something wrong. I'm still who I am. I still have my own superpowers to navigate. And I may be weak at this moment, but that weakness doesn't mean I'm defeated. And that's not just a
Mm.
mantra. It truly is at the end of the day, because there's going to be nights sometimes that you are alone and you're by yourself. There are no dependents, right? There are sometimes there's nobody you can call, or those people don't have the capacity. And who do you have to
Mm.
rely on?
Yourself.
Yourself. Yourself. And so if
Mm.
I know myself and I'm comfortable in self and I'm solid in self, I might have a little shake with my identity, but at the core, I know myself. And then I say, okay, how am I shifting now? And how is myself expanding now? And what do I do with this now? Owning your
Mm.
authority and coming up with your own blueprint, not allowing somebody else to tell you what to do.
Yeah. I can feel how important that is because we've got our own set of beliefs, our own set of values, on top of the fact that we're going through this very personal, experience. So when you put all of that together, how can someone else tell you how to move through it or how to feel or what you need to do? Like it's just not possible because we're all so, so different.
It's not possible. And you can't tell me what to do because, or how to move through it because my mother died when I was 16. Maybe somebody else's mother died when they were 16 too, but it wasn't your mother. We didn't have the same
Mm.
relationship.
Mhm.
For me, my mom was my best friend. So I wasn't just losing a mother, I was losing my cheerleader.
Mm.
I was losing my play partner. I was
Yeah.
losing the person that was my best friend that I could tell anything to. And so for somebody to come and tell me what I should do, you really can't because you don't know what that relationship is like. And then you also don't know what I necessarily need and how I find that next thing to support me through the process. So I'm very
Mm,
careful about that when I'm coaching, I ask people, what is it that you believe you need? What
mm,
is it that what is shifted? What does that mean for you now? What do you want it to look like in the future? What do we have to work with now? And how can we put that plan together where it feels right for you?
mm. Beautiful. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, anyone that's in a position where, there's a lot riding on them showing up. Right back at the beginning, you were talking about, taking that breath and taking that step back so that you could, work through your grief. How, actually, I hate how questions. How is so wrong? What needs to happen for that person to really have that ability to do that? Let me just explain a little deeper. I feel like so many high performers are like, I just have to go, 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 go because we're trying to hold it together. But also, we are holding it together for a lot of people. So, what's going through my head is the people that are listening going, well, that's fine for her. But if I step back and take the time I need, everything's going to fall apart. Is this making sense?
It makes total sense. And you know what I say?
I'm here for it.
What if it falls apart?
Mm,
Somebody's going to pick it up.
that's the most amazing thing, right?
But what if you fall apart? Somebody's gonna pick it up. Sometimes we don't give space for somebody else to pick it up, and I'm not saying that as a, "Well, what about you?" type of thing, because I hate that, Samantha. I hate when you come with an issue and somebody goes, "Well, but what did you do? Or what could you have done?" That's not what I'm saying here. What I am saying
Mm,
is that the shift in you could be the opportunity for you not to always hold it together, to allow others to step
mm,
in. Now, to your point though, you need the space to do that. You need
mm,
you need a system, you need other leaders, you need other colleagues who will be able to allow you to express your truth, for them to accept your truth and to work with you in that truth and come together and build that collective plan so that it doesn't all fall on your shoulders. But there's that other part too, is that us high performers, you know what other common thing is within us? We're not good at walking away from a situation because that seems like we're giving up. Sometimes
yes.
we might have to be honest to say, this culture no longer serves me and the
Mm,
shift that I've gone through. And now how I need to navigate life going forward. I had a C-suite leader who she had the light bulb moment when we were talking and she was like, "Rosin, I'm not my leader, she's not supporting me. She's making it seem as if I'm just complaining because everybody else is stepping up to the plate." And I said, "So what do you think your other option would be?" I didn't guide her to this, Samantha. And she said,
mhm,
"I might have to leave.
mm,
I might have to find another role that suits me and that supports me so that I can focus and I can do this. And I might need to allow others to step up and step in while I move over here." That's another thing. So it's a whole combination. You need the right support. You need to be able to be honest with yourself. You need the space to be honest. You need others to step in, but then you also might have to make some actual tactical and behavioral shifts, which is a mind shift in itself for us high performers. That's
mm,
a biggie,
totally. Oh,
right, Samantha?
huge, huge. But how empowering to suddenly come to that decision of, I may need to find another position. Or I'm thinking as a business owner, like how empowering to almost, actually, empowering might not be the right word, but we can hold on to things that aren't working so tightly. But to be put in that position where all of a sudden you have to let others step up and to see that things don't fall apart sometimes is the beauty in itself to go, "Ah, I could have done that 5 years ago." Like, right?
Yes, yes. And then the question becomes, why didn't I? Well, you didn't experience what you experienced. You weren't who you were 5 years ago as you are now. And this, opportunity is presenting itself. The other thing too is that it's also hard for anybody to say, I may not perform like I used to. Maybe I stay
Mm,
here, right? But what you're used to, it may not be this way. I'm still going to do my job, right? I'm still going to be accountable, but I may not overextend or overperform like I used to. And that might be a reality that I need to get used to of not performing at the level and allow others to get used to that as well. That's another point
mm,
too that we don't really look at that all the time and it's not always accepting as well.
yeah. I want to get super tactical and logical just for a moment
Yes.
in a topic that isn't tactical and logical, although it kind of is at the same time. Once someone has decided, all right, okay, I'm hearing what Rosalind's talking about. I actually do need to take a breath and maybe deal with something. Apart from, we've said stepping back, what are they actually doing when they step back? Are they sitting on the couch and doing nothing? Is there a process they need to move through? Like, what does this actually look like?
I love this question. I'm so trying not to physically lean in, Samantha, into the screen. Sometimes for a moment, it is sitting on the couch and the sofa doing nothing because we're not used to that. Us leaders and high
Mhm.
performers, how often are we used to that? We schedule that in. And then
Yeah, that's
sometimes when we
exactly
schedule
right.
it in, we're not even good at it, right, Samantha? So
Yeah.
sometimes it is training yourself how to sit and not do nothing, even just for a moment. Then the other part is there is the need, while we do need support, you do need some solitude, getting
Mhm.
comfortable with solitude, because in solitude, that allows you to stay present with self, to listen and gain some clarity. And then with clarity, you can start to actually action plan and say, okay, now what is it that I need? Do I need coaching? Do I need counseling? Do I need now to maybe take this responsibility and shift it elsewhere? Do I need to bring in some support from family members or friends? So first, we always coach to say, first sit down, slow down, sit and do nothing. Everything doesn't always have to be go, go, go. And then start to process. Start to ask yourself some questions, look for the answer, and then you start to plan that out. And that could be, for instance, one of my clients, she was one of my greatest teachers. She wanted to go, go, go and get her book out there and get her business going, but her health was failing.
Mm.
Samantha, she hadn't filed her taxes. The house was
Mhm.
physically falling apart. She had lost her friendship network. So we
Uh-huh.
needed to pause her for a minute, just for a minute. I said, 90 days. Can we just not focus on the book? Just 90 days. First, can we start? What do we need to do? Can we look for some exercise classes? What brings you joy? Do you need me to help you to get somebody to come in and look at the house and the repairs? How can we get the paperwork together for the taxes? So that's
Mm.
tactical, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, behaviorally, I'm coaching her and she's learning that, oh, owning my authority means I gotta focus on self. We're
Mm.
not good at that as
Mhm.
high performers because everybody
Mhm.
else needs us, right? They're the
Yeah.
priority. Our priority comes when we schedule it in, not habitually. So that's some of the
Yeah.
tactical things.
I love that so much. The grief gangstress. I need to know how did you arrive at that?
Oh, Samantha, and every time you say it so beautifully. Like it just rolls off your tongue. It's almost as if you gave me the name. You say it with confidence. It was
N
divine, Samantha. It was
uh,
divine. One day, I'm always called resilient. I've been called it since I was younger. And I would always say, but doesn't everybody do this? Like you get up,
Mhm.
you pick yourself up, you figure out what you need to do, you process, and then you use that lesson and you apply it to the next thing, right? Well, divinely, I was meditating and that divine voice said to me, no, it's not normal, Rosalind.
Mm.
And how you navigated the last journey, which was divorce after 17 years, Samantha, 3 years after that, unexpectedly, my former husband died from a heart attack.
Oh my
We were
goodness.
still friends and family,
Mm,
and I had to jump into action to support my stepson, make sure everything was taken care of and things of that nature. And I'm out in the dating world, I'm dealing with singlehood. And here I was supporting myself, and I did it in a different way, shut everything down, took a sabbatical. I said the no.
mm.
I left the job. I did all those things. And then the divine said to me, "No, Rosalind, it's not normal. You're not normal. You're not just resilient. You're the grief gangstress." That was a divine download. And
I
Samantha,
love
and
it.
my shoulders went like this. And I just like, chest was out, head was lifted. And Samantha, I don't know if you've seen some of the memes that is like, yes, yes, I am. Yes, yes, I am. That is what I did in that moment. And I immediately, Samantha, I said, let me do my first publication on Substack, The Grief Gangstress.
I love it. I love it. Owning that authority.
I mean, because it's not normal, right? For you to guide yourself through and acquire the right support. And then while you're going through this and being purposeful with your time and your solitude and saying, I'm not doing that, but knowing when to step in and help others and help guide them and allowing yourself to break, allowing yourself to be ugly, allowing yourself to gain the temporary weight, but you're becoming this different, stronger in the process, more confident.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
opposite of
that's
the
gangstress.
way. Yeah, absolutely it is. Isn't it interesting that we often miss the the things that make us so unique and that's our superpower because we think that it's normal. And I when you realize that that is your superpower and you step into it, that's what makes someone just like, oh, mwah, love it.
You worded that perfectly because you're just going through your norm, right? You're just being who you are. And you do kind of not necessarily play small, but you take it for granted, I think. And maybe you
Mhm.
just don't notice it because you're just out here being you. And I don't know about
Yeah.
you, Samantha, but I'm one of these people that I'm always in my own little world, just floating through life. And at the moment, life was like, no, no, this is serious. This is serious. And the way you're able to help people, this isn't just, this isn't for the faint of heart.
Yeah, totally. For people that are listening and they're like, there's something that dropped in for them, or they've had a realization, something has piqued their interest, and they're maybe even exploring, or they absolutely 100% know in every cell of their body that they need to move through something like this. Well, number one, how do they stay connected with you? And number two, um, what do you suggest is the next step for them?
Oh, I did something and I hope you saw it. I think you saw it. I have something free for you and your guest and your audience because
Absolutely.
this is an honor and I want to gift you back. So I just recently created this map your grief journey quiz. And it's really a quiz and an assessment, but it's really the blueprint. And
Mhm.
so if you and your audience goes on to rrichardprice.com/ the blueprint, this particular quiz is going to walk you and your audience through the different archetypes, basically showing how and confirming how it is that you navigate grief and life's challenges and transitions. Because the
Mm.
reality is, Samantha, is that we don't navigate all things the same. How I navigated my divorce was different than how I navigated the death of my mother and my father and support system.
Mhm.
How I navigated being out in the single world and transitioning from corporate America to being an entrepreneur. It's totally different. So, what this does is it gives you some clarity. It also gives you some talking points on next steps, considerations, some things to consider. It's not there to label you. That's the beauty of it. You know how you'll take quizzes and they'll say, you are this.
Uh-huh.
That's not what this is. This is
Love it.
helping you to get more of identity grounding.
Mhm.
and who you are by way of grief and transitions. You'll take that and then it'll give you different considerations and next steps on how to work with me and how we work together. And then you
That
can also find it on my website, rrichardprice.com. And I pronounce it rrichardprice.com because the grief gangstress has got to be a little fancy, right, Samantha? So, I mean, put a little French twist in it. My grandmother was from Louisiana, so we just add a little bit of that so you can find that there. And then, like I said, I'm on Substack. I'm also the Grief Gangsters publication. I am on LinkedIn under Rosalind Praise, and of course Facebook and IG. But I first want them to start with that quiz because that's the biggest gift there. And the feedback we've been getting is that it's eye opening and then it's also grounded in my 3 pillars, which is awareness, compassionate tools, and sustainable action, not just for the present change, but for going ahead because we're going to have more grief, more challenges, but that grounding is important. So that's my gift to
love that
you.
so much. Thank you so much. All of the links that Rosalind shared just now will be in the show notes below. Rosalind, it's been an honor to have you on the show. And like I said right at the beginning, it's not a topic I've ever considered before. And when I heard you speak, I was like, oh, this is such a this is a conversation that needs to be had so that people can consider looking after themselves as they're going through life, because I think as business owners it's very easy to try and segment or silo parts of your life, and it's just not possible. It is not possible. When there's things going on in your life, it affects your business. When there's things happening in your business, it affects your life, and it all works together. So being aware of this and having this conversation, hopefully will help. I was going to say someone, but I'm sure many people out there listening, to be able to move through this, because at the end of the day, we run our businesses to support our life, and it's not the other way around. So this has been super awesome. Thank you.
Oh, let me tell you, this has just been the best way to spend an evening. You said, "Did you get your dinner?" I ate, but this was the nourishment here, okay? This
Oh.
opportunity for us to just have an organic discussion, and I just love how you framed it because we cannot be our full selves if we really don't experience our full selves and the
Mm,
fullness of life, and that's even the challenges, because the reality is there can be joy in the challenges. They can commingle, and
mm,
that's what we wanna teach, that human first, and that's what your
mhm.
podcast is doing too. When I listen to it, yeah, you're giving business strategy, but, oh, it's very clear their focus is no. Stay grounded in self. Self first. Self first, because
Mhm.
once you get that, the money comes in with the strategy. So I thank you,
Absolutely.
Samantha.
Thank
You're a
you,
blessing.
Rosalind.
Thank you.